Channels. So this is how are we reaching them? Basically, how are you reaching your customers and your beneficiaries? You see the little icon there. It could be email, it could be Twitter, it could be through electronic communication. Sometimes it's hand to hand, sometimes it's knocking, sometimes it's cold calling. So how are you reaching them now? And then how would you reach them through your earned income strategy? It's really important to think about how they want to be reached, not necessarily what you think is best. So maybe you're sending out direct mailers, maybe you're sending out free postcards or free donation slips, things like that, just in terms of getting the word out to them. But maybe that's not how they want to be reached. Maybe they find those things annoying. Maybe they don't even open them. So how can you find out what they want? And when you do find it out, how can you capitalize on that? Maybe they're on Facebook and not Twitter. Maybe they're on Instagram and not Snapchat. Depends on the generation, depends on the individual. Again, stay focused on your targets and don't be too concerned with the fringe. If only 5% of the people that you're trying to reach don't prefer to be reached electronically, I wouldn't waste a ton of time and resources unless it's super easy to get that 5% through other methods, but focus on that 95%, that target that you're really looking at. And if they want to be really reached electronically, then that's the way you go. It's also important to look at how other companies or organizations reach them now. Whether good or bad, it's important to know what others are doing. So that way you can either go against the grain if that will be beneficial, or if there's a model for success that you can duplicate it if possible. Look at which ones work best, which ones work worst, and which ones are most cost efficient. Something else to consider as well. If Facebook ads are something that could work very effectively, but are also very costly, you'll have to weigh the pros and cons and do a risk reward analysis. Maybe the ones that are most cost efficient aren't the most effective. And then finally, how are you integrating your channels with customer routines? What that means is when I wake up in the morning, maybe the first thing I do is I hop on Facebook. And maybe that's really the only time I look at Facebook the entire day. So if you're posting something at 5 p.m. at night, maybe by the following morning, it's already gone in my newsfeed, or maybe it had a short little spark of notice for a few people, but the way that the Facebook algorithms work, by that following morning, maybe it's not something that I would even notice anymore. Maybe when I come home from work, I go to the mailbox and I open up my mailbox. So maybe that's every day at 4:30. Maybe I only do it once a week because I forget that I have mail. So really important to integrate your channels into your customer routines and think about what they are most likely to do with their habits. Put yourself in their shoes and try and go through their routines. Think of it as a day in the life. Okay, getting into the fun stuff, getting into cost structure. This is where we think about dollars and cents. So on your costs specifically, so these aren't revenues, these aren't things coming in, just on the expenditure side, what are your biggest expenditures? Write down the ones that take up 50 to 60 to 70% of your expenditure budgets, because these are your big fish. And look at which costs are most inherent to the earned income stream. So combination, you can either do what you're doing now or what it would take to create an earned income stream. Probably beneficial to do both, but specifically with that new earned income stream, are you trying to create a mobile app? If you are, it might cost you $50,000 to $150,000 in development costs. Then again, maybe you have someone that said they would volunteer and do it for free. If they do it for free, it's not going to be a big cost. But then you have to look at the value proposition. Is it going to be a way that going back to the channel, is it a way that my customer is going to want to be reached? Because is that user experience going to be something that's really aesthetic for them? Or is it going to be something that maybe they don't care about aesthetics, maybe they just care about functionality? So in that case, if they only care about functionality and they don't care about aesthetics, and you have someone that volunteers their time to create an app for you, then it's okay. Low cost, right? Doesn't cost you very much. Really important to start cataloging those and rank them and create almost like a pie chart, if it doesn't exist already, of all of your expenditures, all of your costs. And look at those big ones, because those are the big ones to focus on. And some of these are projected. You'd have to think about what it could cost. but just write down the 2 or 3 biggest costs of what you think would be for your potential earned income stream. Also think about which key resources would be most expensive, either ones that you currently have or would need to create from scratch or create new. Maybe one key resource that you have is inexpensive now, but with the new earned income stream, it would become expensive. Similarly, which key activities are most expensive for the new earned income stream? And can you try and leverage a lane that you already have, a key activity that you do now that wouldn't need to change very much? Maybe you wouldn't need to widen that lane or widen that river too much in order to make it go. For the earned income section, this is essentially what value are your customers willing to pay for. This is the section where you write down that actual earned income idea. Do they pay for something now? And if they do, are they willing to pay more? What could change for them to not want to pay anymore? What could change for them to want to pay for even more? Would it be an additional service or product? And then what are your largest proposed earned income streams, and how would it compare to your overall revenue? In other words, what percentage would this earned income stream be of the overall money that comes into the organization through grants, federated funds, and fundraising and donations and all that other stuff? What would this constitute? Best case scenario over projections for maybe 12 months or 2 years or 5 years. What would be the long-term plan? What percentage would it take up? Would it be 5%, 20%, 40%? Or would it be the only thing? You would only do earned income. And this is where you'd write down multiple ideas as well. Maybe you don't just have one idea, although ideally you'd want to write down one and go through everything, go through the whole canvas with one idea, and then do the canvas for a different idea. There might be a lot of overlap, but there could be some significant differences, especially in the cost section and the key activities section. So I would recommend doing one at a time, but it is always possible to write down a couple of earned income streams that you might have here. And then finally, what pricing tactics would you leverage? More on this earned income section, we'll talk more about next week in week 3 when we do pricing strategies and market landscape. We will talk about a lot of stuff that is in this section right here, because that is the bulk of it. That is a lot of what we're doing, obviously, is talking about earned income. So we'll have a whole week to talk about pricing, doing market landscape, and one of the things we talk about is pricing tactics, both psychological as well as financial, in terms of which one is the best for your organization from a cost standpoint, from a profit standpoint, and which ways do you go. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So write those down, these earned income ideas. And finally, we have surplus. So this is essentially, what is your earned income minus your costs? Do you have a surplus? These are your profits. You should have one. Otherwise, do not create that earned income stream, because you're going to be losing money. So as much, again, this kind of goes back to the getting enamored with the idea over the pragmatism. It's got to make you money. Otherwise, there is no point in doing it. Also consider, how much does it cost you to explore the earned income idea if you would make money maybe in 6 months or 12 months, but at what cost? Did you sacrifice grant writing opportunities? Did you sacrifice federated funding opportunities, donations, fundraisers? Those are all costs as well, and you have to think about that in terms of a cost-benefit analysis. This is important too. What do you plan to do with the surplus funds, and how can you use those funds to best move your mission forward? Because any funds that you have that are in surplus should go towards a mission-related activity. Everything should go back into the organization. And as we talked about, you can use some of that surplus to pay off overhead costs and things like that, or maybe pay back debt. But ideally, in your ideal scenario, you'd like to use your surplus to alleviate your mission or to deepen your impact. How can you make those dollars go really, really far? And think again in terms of root cause, thinking back to that root cause analysis that you did. Instead of treating the symptoms or doing the short-term solution, how can you use those surplus funds to really move that mission forward and deepen that impact at the root cause level? That's it. Let's do some review. So the unique value proposition, as we have discussed before, is a clear statement that describes the benefit of your offer, how you solve your customers' needs, and what distinguishes you from the competition. The social profit business canvas helps you create, design, and implement your value proposition and your earned income strategy. Don't fall into that trap of being enamored by your idea over pragmatism. It's got to work, and it's got to make you money, and it's got to move your mission forward. Vet your idea, analyze, and plan. And finally, only pursue that earned income strategy, again, if it is both profitable and moves your mission forward. Okay, that's all for the value proposition section. Don't forget to give feedback and ask questions in the Facebook group and to attend office hours. This has been Drew Hackman with Nonprofits for the Future, the roadmap to new funding sources. See you soon.